they have all the L's, which very much correspond to the side view of the iMac itself. Okay, interesting. This is a much wider pop-up. So I love that when they have a product and they're actually using features of the product and directly pulling that into their web design. Instead of a full keynote this week, Apple is dropping several individual Mac-related announcements. The first of those announcements came today with the reveal of the new M4 iMac. That means that we have some brand new marketing to check out in addition to a new product. Apple often has some real creativity with their web design, so I'm excited to check out this new website for the M4 iMac along with you for the very first time. We'll see what they do well and where maybe they could improve. I've filmed several videos like this for new Apple releases, and you can check out more of those on our channel, but there are always some interesting surprises. My name is Logan, this is Marketing for Normal People, and let's dive into what we've got going on this time with this new M4 iMac. So I'm right here on the Apple homepage, and we have this very typical banner that we've been seeing lately for the new marketing materials that we've been reviewing with the new product releases. And so we have Apple Intelligences here with that very Instagram-esque gradient going on right here. And then right below that, we have the new announcement of the iMac. So if we scroll down, we have the iPhone 16 Pro right below that still. But today, they are making sure that the attention is on the iMac so we can learn more. We can also pre-order. You can actually click anywhere on this entire banner, which is a little bit confusing for a user. Typically, if you have a button, you don't necessarily want the background of that button to also create that action, but that's a small little nitpick. Let's actually jump into this and let's check out this new iMac. So I do actually still have the old iMac website up because today is the day that they refresh these products, and so I actually got all the websites for the previous Apple products, the ones that have been rumored to get updates. I have them all up, and so we'll be able to compare this a little bit to the previous website. And right here, you saw the animation come in. I really do like this new banner. I like the way that they're angling, that they're letting the user, whoever's on this page, the web visitor, see these, basically this iMac on all kinds of different angles, but they're also doing it in a way that highlights all the colors. So we have our green, yellow, that's kind of more orange, pink, more of an orange, and then this is more of a pink, a little red, and then we have purple, blue, and silver. And then again, right below here, we have Hello Apple Intelligence. I really like what they're doing with this brilliant, it's basically their headline for the page, and their headline for the M4 iMac. And so it's just this idea that it's, on the one hand, I really like how it looks. So what they're doing here is they have all the L's, which very much correspond to the kind of long, straight, narrow shape of the side view of the iMac itself. And so we have this, basically this corresponds to what they're doing here, but they're showing you all these L's. They're repeating the L's so that way you can see the different colors. And I think that's kind of the idea. It's like, hey, it's brilliant. We have, brilliant would also refer to the display. Like, you can see it with brilliant color. Sometimes they use that kind of terminology. And it would have good resolution, and so it's a brilliant display. I'm sure they're referring to that. And the iMac is very much about the display. That's one of the really big factors of it. But yeah, it doesn't really. It is very, very nondescript. It certainly doesn't tell me any advantages of this computer over others. But I think because they're using this single headline in a very unique way to communicate more than just the word brilliant, they're also communicating the colors and in a sense, even that it's really thin. So I think that's clever, and for people who are putting together their own website, you got to be really careful trying to be too clever versus being just more clear and simple. But because Apple is such a well-known brand, I think it works in this case. Apple's old, let's see, where's their old site? Let me do this. There it is. Okay, so this is what their previous banner looked like for the M3 iMac, and I do think that the new one definitely looks better. Yeah, something about this. I think part of it is on this one. So again, this is just the previous version of the iMac site that was up this morning. But here we have these screensavers, and the screensavers look good. They do. But something about it kind of fanning out more. It really is very, very similar. As a matter of fact, they're using pretty much the exact same colors, like in the exact same order, which is interesting. And honestly, the old version here corresponds a little bit better to the L's here, but I really do like how you can see more going on with the iMac. Like it's not just these wallpaper backgrounds. I think I said screensaver before. I mean wallpaper backgrounds, but here they actually are showing you different kinds of programs and things you could be doing on the actual computer, but very cleverly, they are doing it in such a way as it matches the color scheme of the unit that they're showing. So this is a very green background going on here. This is a very yellow background. This is a very kind of pink-orange background. So the way that they're corresponding with that, it looks really, really pro. It looks really, really good. Anyway, I like this a lot. I think that looks fantastic. Something about it definitely looks older. So let's go ahead and let's keep going down the page. We can pre-order, and then we're going to start at $12.99. I believe that, yeah, the old site had it starting from $12.99 as well. So same pricing. I'm sure that there are plenty of updates that we'll learn about in just a moment, but for the most part, a lot of things are going to be very similar here, given the same colors. At first glance, they look the same, and they're starting at the same price. So I imagine a lot of things are going to be very similar. Now, here's our highlights section. Apple has done this, not on every new product release, but on a lot of their new product releases, they do this, where it kind of just auto slides through some of the new big features. So, this is built for Apple Intelligence. We got the M4 chip. We can zip through tasks with flying colors. I like that flying colors language. That's clever. Use iPhone mirroring, use your phone on the big screen. It's interesting because, and then your 12 megapixel center stage camera keeps you front and center. So maybe that's a new camera that they have going on. But yeah, interesting that a lot of these features that they're talking about are just basic features that can work on any Apple Silicon Mac. iPhone mirroring is cool, but yeah, that works on any Mac from M1 through M4, to my knowledge. And then you also have, the M4 chip. So I'm sure that'll be, that they released the M4 chip back in the iPad several months ago. And so this is the first computer to officially get it. So I'm sure that will increase performance in plenty of ways. But yeah, let's see. What was that other one here? Built for Apple Intelligence. This is interesting because, yes, on the one hand, the M4 chip, I'm sure, does very, very well with Apple Intelligence. However, Apple Intelligence, at least the vast, vast, vast majority of Apple Intelligence features, are going to every iMac M1 through M4. That's not the case for things like the iPads and the iPhones. They're not going back as far. You need newer products to get Apple Intelligence on those products. But for Apple Intelligence on Macs, you can get that going back to a 2020 computer. So interesting that they're still using this language, built for Apple Intelligence, because that's the same language they've been using on the new iPhones, some of the new iPads, things like that. And so this, it's a good tagline, makes sense, but it feels perhaps a little bit misleading. It's certainly safe to say that it is built for Apple Intelligence. So it's not being dishonest at all. It matches other products where it is really more the first product that gets Apple Intelligence, where this line of iMacs, pretty much all of the recent ones will get Apple Intelligence. So they're built for Apple Intelligence too. Anyway, enough about that. Let's look back here real quick. Okay, new vibrant colors, strikingly thin. As far as I can tell, the colors look exactly the same as what was available before. Maybe they're slightly different. Maybe. We'll find out if they say more about the color. All right, we can take a closer look. Some of the Apple products that they've been releasing recently haven't had a way to do the color preview where you can go through and see all the different colors. So they're bringing that back here, so I like that. I think I like this a lot. Notice too, just a quick little graphic design note, notice that not only is the computer and the accessories are changing, and those are the things you actually get if you buy this, but they're also changing the background. The background is changing subtly, but in a way that just looks really, really good from a graphic design perspective. So I like calling out those things, especially for newer marketers. and designers, just to make sure you're paying attention to that kind of stuff. Those are the kinds of color schemes that work really, really well with all kinds of web design projects, especially things with product images. Okay, and so you can actually see it at different angles. I like this. Sometimes with other Apple websites, they'll let you like spin the product around and stuff like that. I like that here we're just getting different angles of it. I think that's really clean and simple and nice. Okay, and here you can actually see the accessories. Cool. I like it. I like it. Okay, Apple Intelligence, a breath of fresh AI. That's clever. I like that line. Some of these other Apple products that have been releasing recently, the new iPhones, some are the new Apple Watches, things like that. Some of them haven't had the best balance, and I've called that out on some of the other releases on the new websites, where it just feels like there's a lot of stuff on the left or the right, and but then there's a lot of blank space, so it's not balanced out. This is all centered. This feels great, and then we have two images below it. I'm just mentioning that because realistically, a lot of Apple's other websites, like this doesn't feel weird. This feels normal, and so it doesn't feel like anything special. But a lot of other of Apple's recent websites haven't been doing that and have been making stranger decisions. So it's interesting just to see them being so just simple and normal here. All right, so this is the Apple Intelligence section, which is, the big feature they're trying to highlight right now. So, you can use Image Playground, wonderful, wonderful. With great powers come with great privacy. Probably a little bit of a play on that Spider-Man quote. Again, really good balance here. It's just centered headline, and then we have two centered paragraphs down there. I think that's great. Two centered paragraphs, meaning the whole thing as one unit is centered, but obviously these two are next to each other. And we can go further down. We can see these wonderful children checking out this movie. All right, performance, if looks could thrill. So now we're done with an interesting, maybe they're trying to get in the idea of like privacy, just, protecting your kids, but this image right here doesn't look like it has anything to do. I mean, it literally says Apple TV right there. So they're watching some sort of Apple TV show or movie. And yeah, clearly like, they're talking all about Apple Intelligence, and then they're talking about privacy. This is specifically about Apple Intelligence right here. But yeah, it's just weird to pair it with this image because this image seems to have nothing to do with that. All right, performance if looks could thrill. Again, strangely, this web page is very, very balanced as far as just decisions with centering and left and right. A lot of the pages that Apple's been putting out have not been. I'm just so surprised. I keep expecting it to go down to the next section and the next section to see something, not balanced. But yeah, they're just keeping up with that look of just like centered, balanced. Very interesting. Again, if you've been with our channel for a little while and you've seen me review a lot of Apple's other products, you know that is not what they've been doing. All right, so again, I like with the iMac, it's interesting because they can do so much with color and all these different images and everything. Even though it's all the same product, they're all the same size and everything like that, they can just do a lot of things with these different colors. Are these interactive at all? Because it was flipping and now they've stopped. Let me go ahead and try and refresh and see what happens when... Okay, and so once again, they're showing us, content on the page that kind of matches the color scheme. I think that's a really, really good choice. It just really helps push that color, and from a graphics perspective, it would be a little more jarring if this had more green content on it or more yellow content on it. So this space background here is very purple-esque, and so yeah. Anyway, all that works great. So yeah, it's interesting that they let you see the other images float by in an animation at first. But yeah, there's no way to re-trigger that animation without refreshing, and there's no way to like click around. So yeah, that's interesting that they have those go by so quickly. But yeah, it looks good, like what they did. But I do think as a user, I wouldn't mind being able to go back and actually see what was on these computers. Okay, again, great balance. I don't want to go on the balance thing too much, but just this Apple, when I would call not using balance as breaking the rules. Sometimes it's okay to break the rules. If you've been doing things for a long time, you know what you're doing, you have reasons for it, you're allowed to break the rules and kind of play what we call outside of the box. But typically it's a lot safer to play inside of the box. And even Apple, when they do things outside of the box, it still seems jarring and weird. Depending on who's looking at it, but most people it's probably going to feel a little bit jarring to some degree. And maybe jarring can be good in certain contexts. But with this website just feels professional and clean and simple, and Apple's doing that in a way that, again, is very different from a lot of their other sites. So yeah, I'm enjoying going through this site more than some of the others. It's just, yeah, it's a better experience for me as a user. I'll say that. All right, display, a real pupil pleaser. Very, again, Apple and their play on words. It's interesting because I think what they try and do is they're trying to be. They try and be clear here. So like display, they're going to talk about the display, and then they just give it something just to kind of give you a little message that's fun and sticks with you for a moment. So Apple is still being clear with the first term, display. And you're assuming the display is going to be good. But then again, they give it a little bit of a fun tagline, and they've probably, performance, if looks could thrill, and then Apple Intelligence, a breath of fresh AI. So that's what they've been doing for all these. It's just headline and then basically a sub-headline. Even though it's the same font size, they're functioning collectively as a headline and sub-headline. And in each one, they're being very clear about what it is, but then they're kind of just giving it an interesting hook just to kind of leave it more memorable for the user. So I like that overall. I wouldn't like it if they didn't mention display and didn't mention performance. If this was just headlined by if looks could thrill and they didn't say performance specifically, this would be bad. And I bring that up because a lot of the people that I coach, a lot of the people that I've worked with, do things like that where they try and have a clever headline without being clear. This Apple is using clever subheadlines. I'm going to call these subheadlines. They are using clever subheadlines, but they are also using very clear headlines, and so those paired together work fine. Again, a lot of people don't think about that properly, but what Apple's doing here is plenty good. All right, again, great balance. This image works really well, and then we have this. Apple's using a little divider line here. I haven't seen those on too many of Apple's sites, but I think it works really, really well in this context. I also like, just this image is very consistent. This is, as far as border radius and things like that, it just all feels very, very consistent. Very cohesive. Here is the first time. A lot of Apple's latest product websites have not had these buttons come up here. Here we do have one of these buttons coming up here. Now, previously in more of the 2023 release here, Apple was going crazy with these kinds of buttons, and you can see some of those products. Again, I've reviewed those product websites on the Marketing for Normal People YouTube channel, and Apple, with their more recent products, has been doing away with a lot of these, but clearly they decided to bring it back for here, where we can learn more and dive into camera, mics, and speakers in this case. So we got camera, mics, and speakers. You've got their attention. Here's our text, and then here is I like this, how it's a video actually showing you how, what's going on with the camera, what it looks like. And so, and then that button goes away. I do like this animation a lot. They changed the animation from what they were doing in 2023. And I think that this animation looks really, really nice, professional, but also fun. And so if we click on it, it'll probably be, interesting. Apple, again, with the previous year, with the 2023 products, they had a pop-up come up. And again, you can see that exact pop-up on the other websites I've reviewed on this channel. But this is a much wider pop-up. It's still kind of a pop-up because it still has this the border radius here. So it's not trying to fill the page or anything like that. And there's just a little bit of the background here of the actual web page behind it. However, so it's functioning as a pop-up. However, this is much wider than Apple's other product pop-ups have been, and you saw it slide up from the bottom. So I think even the very few cases where they had a button like this for some of the 2024 products, I don't think they've done the pop-up like this. So let's do that again. Let's just click right there, and there's the slide up. So that looks great. I think that's really nice, actually. I really, really like, this is cool. So again, Apple in a unique case with the iMac. Some of their other products are very colorful too. The iPhone 16 is a lot more colorful than the iPhone 16 Pro, for instance. But they do have this one with this more orange theme right here. And they are using different colors for different sections that they're highlighting. So for this one, they went with the purple color. And, up here they went with more of the darker darker orange. Actually, is that the... Okay, and then this is... So this is actually more the yellow. It's kind of a yellowy orange, but this is more of the yellow. And we have even some yellow, in this image right here. But yeah, if we actually click on this button, then yeah, we have the yellow iMac come up. So they're actually dividing sections, even thinking about a unified color for section to section. So that way they're getting the website visitor used to the idea of all these different colors and how good they can all look, but they're also helping to separate sections and make it clear, okay, now user, you are in this section. Now website visitor, you are in this section, and now you're in this section. You're moving further down. And so just that use of color is very, very, very clever, very appropriate, and helpful. It's a subtle cue to the website visitor that they are, moving forward without saying, hey, you're moving forward. A lot of times we do that with backgrounds. You change the background. But for pretty much this entire site, it's pretty much all just been a solid white background, with the exception of like some gradients going on here. Yeah, pretty much everything has just been solid white. Interesting. And Apple has not been doing that with most of their other sites. But with this, they are doing that, and they're doing it in a very purposeful way. And again, they're dividing it up literally using the actual colors of the iMac. So I love that when they have a product and they're actually using features of the product and directly pulling that into their web design. I think that works so well. Okay, so now then we have, okay, so yeah, so we looked at this. We saw camera, mic, speakers, you got their attention. So this is just a deeper dive into what they're doing with camera, microphone, speakers. Interesting that they're using Logic Pro to show the power of their microphones. All right, and then we have the audio and we have the little audio images there. So very good, very good. Very simple little pop-up. I like it. Sometimes the decision of, hey, do you put more on the page or less on the page? It's tricky because a lot of times, having more information makes it more likely people will read it, but it also can fill it up with extra clutter that not everyone might be interested in. So I guarantee you, very, very few people who are going through most of this website are going to also be clicking on this button. The very few people, the conversion rate, man, it's probably anywhere from, and I'm talking as far as people who actually scroll down to this point, the conversion rate's probably anywhere from 3 to 15 at the very high end, maybe 20%. I doubt it's higher than that. But yeah, you're definitely missing people reading that information. But again, you're making it simpler and cleaner. So advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons, folks. All right, Mac OS, let your apps fly. Got lots of good apps. Interesting that they're, and maybe this is a Safari thing. Several years ago, Apple updated Mac apps so that they all need to use the square or maybe squircle-ish app design, where they used to be able to be any icon whatsoever, any shape whatsoever, but now they're all conforming to this more rounded square look, very similar to what they're doing with the iPhone. But this one, I believe that's for Grammarly. But yeah, that doesn't look like any of the others. So it might be a Safari extension, but yeah, just interesting that even from a design perspective, they're letting that be so different. That's the only one here that isn't in the square shape. So yeah, just interesting note there. All right, now we're on to a green section, and we got another button. Look at that. We can see more of how iMac and iPhone work together. So yeah, so iMac plus iPhone, mirror on the screen. I like it. Little Snow White reference there. Very clever. Okay, so let's click on this, and it'll probably be similar. Yep, the cards all green. So they're using 4 cards here instead of 3 like before. But yeah, it's just text on one side, image on the other, image, text, text, image, image, text. So yeah, I love the staggering back and forth. Very typical of web design, very clean, very pro. Okay. So we can go down, new to Mac. A lot of people, the iMac is more of an entry-level device, and so a lot of people, for a lot of people, it might be their first Mac, or it might be for someone. Well, this would still be their first Mac, but someone so it could either be their first computer overall, or it could be someone who owned a PC and now they're going to switch to Mac, and so they're trying to communicate how easy it is to use your Mac with the App Store and with moving files from a previous Mac or a PC. And then they're talking about how your Mac is built to last. Fun fact, I'm not going to get into it here, but there are some people, definitely a good amount of customers who have complained about a display issue with some of the previous Macs that have the exact same design, at least as far as the looks go, as this Mac. So maybe they've fixed that, but interesting that they're saying that it's built to last, because there are just some reports online about some people who got the M1 iMac and their display is having issues, and so it's like, is this really built to last? And they're out of warranty at this point. So yeah, I don't want to get into that a whole lot here, but it's just interesting that that Apple is specifically saying something that is a little bit controversial to some of the experience that some people feel like they've actually had recently. So you're welcome to look that up on your own if you would like. But anyway, we have Apple Wallet here. I guess that's talking about how you can pay for the Mac when you use Apple Card. It's interesting that they're showing it looks like they're talking about an iPhone feature here. So sign up it lives on your iPhone and the Wallet app. So yeah, interesting that they're it looks like they're talking about financing. Now, a lot of the times on Apple's other websites, they've been putting these financing sections on the site, talking about all kinds of different ways to buy, and they're highlighting the financing section in another area. So interesting that they're putting this in a new to Mac section. Let's see if they also have the how to buy and different purchase options below. All right, and then we have never used a Mac, no problem. You're in the right place. Take a look. Okay, so this is a learn more. Typically on a page like this, you rarely have buttons or any sort of calls to action that would lead the user to another page or another part of your website. Because you want people here, you want them that they clicked to learn about the iMac, so you want to make sure they're learning about the iMac. And your hope as a company is that they're going to click buy now, or in this case, pre-order, and they're going to actually make the purchase. And it's going to definitely be more likely that they'll do that if you're not giving them a whole bunch of distractions and buttons and links all over the place. This is a rare case where they are putting a link here. And again, even though they have the buttons up here, these still keep you on the page because they just have the X here, and you're not actually going to a different page. But here, this actually would take you to a totally different page. So again, rare move. You want to be careful with that kind of stuff. But in this case, the idea of, okay, if you want to learn more about actually being brand new to Mac, let's just convince you that Mac is great in the first place. And so that makes sense as a button there. Okay, there on some of I forget which one it was, maybe the iPad mini, but on a very recent Apple release, they had a slider like this, and you'll notice that what just happened is it's barely moving at all. I can admittedly, I guess this very edge right here is being cut off, but yeah, it looks so weird to just click the next arrow and have just it barely move when the whole time it's been moving a whole lot. And so yeah, I feel like Apple could do a better job with their positioning these sliders on. It might have been the Mac or the iPad mini. Apple had done a much better job with their slider, but interesting that they're back to doing this again. They had this exact same problem on a lot of their other recent product releases, and it just did not work well. I'm using it in a large Safari window on a modern Mac. So this is as ideal of an environment for Apple to build this website, and for me to be viewing it, there's nothing weird going on here. So if Apple's not building it well for this kind of size and for this kind of page and this kind of computer to be looking at it, then it's worth on their end to rethink how some of that works. All right, we got magical connections. This is a pink section, the kind of pink red. I do feel like this font is a little bit small. Typically, you don't have body font, so this is called body font if it's not part of a headline. Typically, your body font is usually not smaller than 16. I have a feeling this is smaller than 16, which is a little interesting that they would do that. Apple's font usually is plenty big on most other sites. Yeah, I feel like on this site they've allowed it to be shrunken down a little bit. Interesting choice. It's readable, but I do feel like I have to work a little bit harder to read it. And then we got 4 powerful ports, so we can get up to 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports. Awesome. Support for up to 2 external 6K displays. That's awesome because you can use, I'm very much a triple monitor person, so you can use this iMac as your main display, and then you can have 2 displays next to it. All about it. 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports. Thunderbolt 4 ports. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. All right, awesome. So yeah, I do feel like they could use more ports, but it's kind of a minimal computer, and those are 4 great ports that are very, very versatile. So that'll work for most people. Then here's your accessories where you can deck out your desk. I like that. I like the alliteration of deck out your desk. That's pretty good. And then they're not really telling you much about these different accessories. So yeah, interesting that you can't like really learn more about them. All right, there's never been a better time to upgrade. Here's what you get with the new iMac M4. Okay, I like this. Apple hasn't been doing with this with a lot of their recent sites, at least in this particular way, where they just have like a simple thing at the bottom that just kind of summarizes comparing your current computer to this. So, like I said, the Apple Silicon Macs, the Macs that have M1, M2, M3, etc., this one has M4. All of those Macs all have Apple Intelligence capabilities. However, if you have an Intel machine, so something before Apple Silicon, then you wouldn't have Apple Intelligence. So it is interesting that, that truly would be an upgrade. You would get Apple Intelligence if you're upgrading from an Intel machine. Interesting. Okay, so they're actually only showing you 2 or 3 machines here that you can even choose between. You have the iMac 2019 version, the 21.5 inch. You have the 27-inch 2020 version, and then you have the M1 2021 version. Interesting. So all those computers are at least several years old. Interestingly, they're not even bothering to show you before 2019, though. That's surprising. I would absolutely show 2018, 2017. I mean, I know some people who are very close to me who have a computer that is well over a decade old at this point. And anyway, they would be due for an upgrade like this. So yeah, just interesting that they're stopping there. So let's click on this one. Okay, cool. So they are being transparent about this, that if you have an M1 iMac, then you get Apple Intelligence. So on these Intel machines, you wouldn't get Apple Intelligence. And okay, but also interesting that they're specifically highlighting 4 things, because here they're like, okay, you get the 12 megapixel camera, so I guess that's new. It probably wasn't 12 megapixels before. And you get up to 2.1 times faster for demanding creative workloads. Cool, that sounds nice. Up to 70% faster on everyday tasks. They have some, they're using these little scripts here to allow you to see their actual testing on that. So that's good. And then there's an option for nano texture glass. So basically, it's the M1 2021 computer with a few performance boosts and a 12 megapixel camera. There's not a whole lot of benefit other than those things. Now here, there's a lot more. And so I assume, okay, a more spacious, I see what they're doing. So this is the one they're hoping people have, because then you really get some upgrades. You get a bigger display, you get Apple Intelligence, you get Touch ID, and 6 times faster with them than the most popular Intel-based iMac. And then, so yeah, here they're hardly touching on the speed at all, but yeah, faster graphics, interesting. And they're touching on the camera and Apple Intelligence and Touch ID. So yeah, some good features there. Interesting to see, what will Apple do in the next couple years, when it's 2028, 2029. What are they going to do to really, really push the bar again? Because there definitely are some good things, compared to these 2019, 2020 computers, that it's a compelling reason to upgrade. But the 2021 M1 version, which is, an M series chip, I think it's a lot tougher of a sell. So, especially when these are entry-level, typically more entry-level consumers who are buying the iMac. They're buying the iMac, which doesn't have any of the Pro chips. They're buying the iMac for more basic computing stuff. So, if they're the kind of people to upgrade every few years, that would be very surprising to me. Anyway, designed to make a difference. They're talking a little bit about their green initiatives and privacy and okay, and then making sure that all kinds of different people, especially like people with disabilities, things like that, can use their products. I definitely like that. All right. And here's what I was talking about before, where they're mentioning yeah, okay. So that's strange. Strange that they are talking about, if you're new to Mac, hey, you can finance it. It is good to call out financing. If you're offering financing or special payment options, it's definitely good to highlight those and let people know about them. Strange to mention it up here in this way, but then also have this down here. Again, this is what I was talking about before, where Apple has all these different little pop-ups basically. And see, these are little pop-ups. It's not that big slide up like before. So yeah, these are pop-ups, but this is just more information about all these different ways to shop and pay and all kinds of different things. So it makes sense that the financing thing would be here. But again, and it's not wrong to mention financing 2 times, even 4 times in your sales page. However, yeah, just it feels like this is just a little out of context when it says new to Mac. Like, you could also mention, it's just, if you're new to Mac, hey, like, this is just a great price overall. Like, but specifically highlighting that, just, it seems like a unique choice in the middle of all this other stuff. Not necessarily bad, but not necessarily how I would do it. All right, and you can keep exploring Mac. You can compare the iMac to the Mac Mini. Interesting, yeah, they're not even bothering to show you the Mac Studio or the MacBook Pro or anything like that. They're just showing you the Mac Mini. Now, fun fact, this week, this very computer is supposed to get updated as well. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that'll definitely change the comparison here on this table very, very quickly. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think it makes sense for them to just compare this to the Mac Mini, because those are the 2 main computers that are targeted at entry-level Mac users who don't need all the bells and whistles, and who also don't want a laptop. If you want, a laptop, there's plenty of Apple options for that. But these are the 2 entry-level desktop computers, so it makes sense to compare these. Though some people might want to do more, and so they do have this compare all Mac models. I feel like that's kind of buried and not super easy to pay attention to. I feel like I would have a little button at the bottom, or even something right up here that just says, see more Mac models or compare more, or something like that. Okay, actually, you know what? Interesting that I actually missed this. They actually do. They actually have it come up right here. I missed it, and there's a lot of reasons why I missed it. The blue kind of, there's not much. It's blue and gray, which is a lot of the same colors they're using here. So I missed this button, and that is just a good little note, because when you put something there intentionally, you want to make sure people don't miss it. I missed this, but that doesn't mean everyone will miss it. But I'm sure plenty of people will miss it. So I like that better though than just here. So yeah, good on them for having something. I saw it eventually. But yeah, maybe it's worth highlighting a little bit more. But maybe they're fine with people not paying much attention to it. But it is just interesting to note that this is all about. I bring this up to mention button psychology. When you have something you really, 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 really want to make sure people see and click on, and it's just super clear that they should check that out. Make sure that you are making that button very obvious with size and with color scheme and things like that, because you just don't want people to miss it. Like I just missed that button there. All right, so that is the bottom of the web page. Let's take a quick little gander back through this site again. Interesting that it went to just the pink iMac by itself at the top. Let's get the whole animation up. All right, there we go. Let's just take a quick little scroll down through the whole website just so we can see the entire thing in all of its glory. All right. Because eventually this is going to get replaced by another iMac, and this website too shall be taken down. So I want to make sure we got a good look before that happens. So here is the full website. There we go. Designed to make a difference. Keep exploring the Mac in comparison. All right, and that's it. So this is the M4 iMac. That is the web page. I'm so glad that we got to check it out together. And that's what I got for you for this video. So what stuck out to you? Was there anything that you think that I missed? I would love your take in the comments down below. Now, like I said earlier, this week Apple has all kinds of Mac related announcements that they've promised to reveal. So I'm expecting another big announcement probably tomorrow. And so that'll also mean a new website to check out. So if you would like to check out the video that I release for that website, go ahead and click right here. Or if you'd like to learn how to build your own website, and if you want that website to actually get fans and turn them into customers automatically, I love teaching that kind of stuff. And you can get my free marketing crash course at marketingfornormalpeople.com, or you can click or scan right here. All right, catch you later.